Like many mainline pastors, I preach grace. A lot. There is a distinct upside to this approach. As one younger member of the church put it to me several years ago, and I'm recalling this conversation from several years removed, he said, "I get told every day how worthless I am at work. I don't need to come to church and have that message reinforced. Hearing the gospel of grace helps me make it through my week." I suspect he speaks for a lot of people. But in today's epistle reading from the daily lectionary, the writer of the letter to the Hebrews gives us a warning, and it's one we need to hear from time to time. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Saturday, January 27th, 2024. The portion of Hebrews we read yesterday ended with a call to keep coming to worship, not only to praise God, which of course is important, but as importantly to encourage and support one another, for they felt themselves to be a beleaguered minority, and it was evident that some were losing heart and dropping out. Now he turns to the other side of the coin, giving a warning, if you will, about the impact of neglecting the faith once baptized. Let me just read the first portion and let it sink in. He says, "For if we willfully persist in sin after having received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a fearful prospect of judgment and a fury of fire that will consume the adversaries. Anyone who has violated the law of Moses dies without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much worse punishment do you think will be deserved by those who have spurned the Son of God, profaned the blood of the covenant by which they were sanctified, and outraged the Spirit of grace?" Ouch. Words like that sting. Like I said yesterday in my teaser for today's devotional, it is a bit of old-fashioned hellfire and brimstone preaching that he's taken to here. And like I said a moment ago, we probably need to hear the message if only to spur us on to maintain our faithfulness. For it is, in fact, all too easy to treat church-going as an optional activity in life, something we do when it's convenient and fits into our busy lifestyles. Now, I don't preach this way because I don't believe in scaring people into heaven. I just don't think it's a good strategy. But in this sense, the writer is absolutely correct. To accept the grace of God, to accept the once and for all sacrifice of Jesus Christ, the great high priest, and then turn around and treat it lightly, well, that is a bit of a slap in the face of God, don't you think? God's grace is costly after all. It certainly caused Jesus Christ inestimable pain and anguish. To turn around and treat it as something we can lightly take advantage of and forget about just isn't the way things should work. It must be deeply insulting to God. But now our writer circles back to encouragement mode, leaving the brief bit of warning mode behind. He reminds them of the struggles they have already endured and encourages them not to abandon the faith now that they have persevered. Here's what he says next. "But recall those earlier days when, after you had been enlightened, you endured a hard struggle with sufferings, sometimes being publicly exposed to abuse and persecution, and sometimes being partners with those so treated. For you had compassion for those who were in prison, and you cheerfully accepted the plundering of your possessions, knowing that you yourselves possess something better and more lasting. Do not, therefore, abandon that confidence of yours. It brings a great reward, for you need endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what was promised." Finally, he concludes this section with complimentary words meant to compliment them and remind them who they really are, the faithful people of God. It's really a bit of a master class in emotional intelligence, though, knowing that helping them identify as the faithful ones just might be the thing to encourage them actually to embrace the faith once more. He writes, But we are not among those who shrink back and so are lost, but among those who have faith and so are saved. You are the ones who have faith, he says. Don't become like the ones who've lost their faith. That's his message, and it is a powerful one. When we return Monday, we'll read perhaps the most well-known passage from Hebrews, where he defines what faith actually is. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.